everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am so excited about starting this video. We are here to read some of Jess's absolute favorite romance novels of all time. So Jess is from the channel Peace Love Books here on YouTube. I will of course link her channel down in the description below. You guys have heard me talk about her a lot because she's definitely one of my favorite romance booktubers. I'm pretty sure she's also the first romance booktuber that I ever followed. I'm pretty sure. We message back and forth a lot on Instagram. She's actually been really helpful to me in, I guess you could say, just helping my channel grow. She's had me on quite a few of her like random romance live shows. I've also been a host on her Historical Hellions book club live show, which she runs that book club with Samantha from Books with Samantha. I will also link her down in the description below. I actually did a video where I read Samantha's top 5 favorite books, so I will link that video up in the cards above. I had so much fun doing that reading vlog. So yeah, this is kind of been a series on my channel where I pick one of my favorite booktubers and I read about 4 or 5 of their absolute favorite books of all time to see how our reading tastes align. Jess is someone who I'm not sure that our reading tastes quite align all that much. Like, some of the books that she loves, I also love. Some of the books that she loves, I don't love so much, at least the ones that I've read. So I'm really excited about reading some of her absolute top favorite books. So basically what I did was I went through and watched a video she did about her top favorite historical romances of all time. I'm gonna link these videos probably down in the description below. So I watched that one about her historical romance favorites, and then I also watched a video that she did recently about, I believe, her top 10 favorite contemporary romances. So through watching those 2 videos, I think I ended up picking 5 books that I haven't read yet that I'm really excited about. So the first one that I am reading, I have already started, and that is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is a pretty unanimous fan favorite among Colleen Hoover fans, so I wasn't surprised to see this on Jess's contemporary romance list. So right now I am actually, let's see, on page 124, that is chapter 10, and that is just about 32% of the way through. So I'm already a pretty good chunk of the way through because I started this late last night, and I got through quite a bit of it because I was waiting for a video to export and upload on my booktube channel. So I went into this pretty blind. I knew nothing of what this is about. Really, all I know about Colleen Hoover romances is that they're very emotional and they can be very heavy. I've read 2 books by Colleen Hoover at this point. The first one was Verity, which is a thriller. Definitely not a romance. Like, there is a romance in it, but it's not a romance novel. It is a thriller in every sense of the word. I adored that book. I gave it 5 stars. And I've also read All Your Perfects, which I also gave 5 stars. That's a very heavy, emotional, marriage in trouble, second chance romance. And that couple is dealing with infertility and issues surrounding that. So yes, very heavy. So this one sounds like it's going to be a love triangle, but that really hasn't happened yet. But I'll just give you the basic plot of what we have going on. So Lily is our heroine. She meets this guy Ryle just randomly when she's just hanging out on the roof of his apartment building. And they just have this like instant connection. He's a neurosurgeon. Basically, 6 months later, they end up crossing paths again because Lily decides to open up her own flower shop and she hires Ryle's sister to work for her. So basically where I left off, their romance is really just starting to develop, starting to happen. And then we also have this really interesting flashback POV. Basically, Lily reads journal entries from her childhood, and we see that she had this really strong connection to this guy Atlas when she was a teenager. When she was about 15 years old, there was this guy Atlas who was a few years older than her, I think 18, and he was living in this abandoned house in their neighborhood, and it turns out that Atlas was homeless because his parents kicked him out of the house. And so Lily befriends him. We also see, I mean, big content warning for physical and emotional abuse, because we see that Lily's father is very abusive towards Lily's mother. So that is featured a lot throughout her past journal entries. Definitely wanted to make you aware of that, because yeah, it's a lot, it's heavy. So I'm very interested to see how these past journal entries are going to connect with the present POV that we have going on of her having this relationship with Ryle and her flower shop and all those things. I'm enjoying it so far. I really like Colleen Hoover's writing. I know that I will just fly through this. Like I said, I'm 32% of the way through. I know that I'll fly through this throughout the rest of today. So I'll definitely give my final thoughts. This is going to be a little bit of a weird reading vlog because I'm not planning on binging Jess's favorites. I have a lot of other books on my November TBR that I need to get to before I can get to some of her other favorites. So I feel like this reading vlog is going to be very sporadic. Just whenever I have the time to pick up one of her favorite books, I will. So yeah, I'll definitely talk to you guys soon, though. All right, so it's the next day. Last night I finished It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and hoo boy, was this a heavy book. Wow. Where do I start with my thoughts? First thing I will say is that this is not a romance novel. You can't convince me that it's a romance novel. It's an adult fiction book. Let me explain that. Yes, there is romance in this. There's actually 2 romances in this, so I guess you could call this a love triangle. However, this book really centers around our main character, Lily, and this abusive relationship that she finds herself in, and how she deals with it, and the many shades of gray that go with being in an abusive relationship. I don't know that I've ever read a book that explores that topic quite like this one. And I was not going to give this 5 stars. Like, throughout my reading experience, I was like, okay, maybe this is like a 4-star. This book was just making me feel really uneasy in terms of the abusive relationship. And I was just like, I don't know, I wasn't loving it. But the ending, when everything comes full circle and when you finally understand the title, that completely sold the book for me. And the author's note that Colleen Hoover included at the end was incredible. This is a very, very personal novel for Colleen Hoover because she grew up with an abusive father, and so the inspiration for the main character basically was her mom. And so this was a very hard novel for her to write. I'm sure it was a very painful experience, but I'm so glad that she did. So I was on the edge of my seat the entire time while I was reading this because part was like in dread of the next abusive situation that would happen. But also, like, Colleen Hoover's writing style is so addictive. And then all of, like, her past POV, like all of the journal entries that she wrote when she was a teenager, when she had this relationship with Atlas, who was a homeless boy in her neighborhood. I think I mentioned this yesterday as well, but in those journal entries, she's also documenting how abusive her father was to her mother. Again, that's really hard to read. And then in the present, so she gets in this relationship with Ryle. I mean, I'm sorry if this is spoilery, but I feel like you should know. Ryle, he starts out being this amazing guy, kind of. I mean, he's kind of always been an ass. But he's the one that becomes abusive towards Lily. Atlas, the boy from her past, shows up in her present. He is the chef at a restaurant that she goes to with Ryle, and so things kind of explode from there and get really crazy. I think at the end of the day, if you can handle the subject matter, and I can't emphasize enough how hard this was to read at times, even for someone like me who doesn't really have any triggers when it comes to reading, yeah, if you can handle the subject matter, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. Gave it 5 stars. This is my 3rd Colleen Hoover book that I've read at this point, and I gave all 3 of them 5 stars. So if you have recommendations for a Colleen Hoover book that you think I should definitely read, like I said, I've already read Verity, All Your Perfects, and this one, definitely leave those recommendations down in the comments below. So as far as my next book for this vlog, I'm not sure what I want to go with next. I think I want to go with one of the historical romances that I have on my little list of books I want to read for this vlog, but I haven't picked out anything yet, and I have a couple of other books on my TBR that I need to get to first before continuing this vlog, so I'll probably talk to you guys maybe in the next couple of days. All right, it's Wednesday, my dudes. It is November 17th today. It has been quite a few days since I have updated this vlog. The next book I decided to read is Wolf Song by TJ Klune. I can still remember watching the vlog that Jess did back in 2019. How I still remember this video, I don't know. But I distinctly remember the vlog where she read this book and she was absolutely obsessed with it. So I definitely wasn't all that surprised when this book popped up in her all-time favorite contemporary romances video. So I guess I'll explain the plot first and then get into the thoughts that I'm having, because I'm having a lot of thoughts. So this is a paranormal wolf shifter adult romance, but it's also essentially our main character Ox's life story. We start the book when he's 12, and then we go through the years. When he's 16, this new family moves into a house down the road, and they're just very unusual people, I guess you could say. When Ox is walking home, he sees this boy just standing in the road, and they have this like instant connection, instant friendship. His name is Joe. And so when they meet, Ox is 16 and Joe is 10. And so we go through some more years. We see how close of a friendship these two people have, and how close Ox is getting with Joe's family in general, and that some kind of weird things are happening in regards to Joe's family. And so we eventually find out that they are a family of wolf shifters. And so then some years go by. Ox is now 23 and Joe is 17. And seemingly out of nowhere, Ox has a romantic and sexual attraction to Joe. And Joe has been attracted to Ox for a lot longer than that. First of all, let me just tell you, this is a long book. It's 480 pages. It is chunky for a romance novel, which I don't really have problems with, because I've read Mariana Zapata books that are longer than 500 pages and absolutely love them. I am currently on page 179. So this big chunk is what I have left of the book. And so now that I've read a pretty significant amount, I felt like it would be okay for me to talk through all of my thoughts and feelings with you guys. I don't know, this romance is making me feel just kind of uncomfy, which sucks. Straight up sucks, because I can tell the way that this was written, you're supposed to root for the romance from page 1. My problem with that, though, is that we meet Joe when he's 10, when he's a child. And so, you know, him and Ox have this very like platonic relationship. They're very close friends, and they kind of grow up together. Like, they are very close. Like, Ox is very close with his family. Like, he goes to family dinner with his family every Sunday. Like, they're very close. And so all of a sudden to see Joe characterized in any kind of romantic way is just very strange, because he's been a kid for at least like 100 pages of this book. He's been a kid. And so now all of a sudden we, the reader, are supposed to view him as an adult, essentially, and as a romantic interest, and I'm just finding that hard to do. I just don't know. And I will say, like, when Ox realizes that he's attracted to Joe, he himself is weirded out by it, because he's like, wait, Joe is only 17. He, you know, makes these thoughts known to like Joe's friends and family, but they're all just like, dude, it's okay, we're wolves. Joe is meant to be the alpha at some point, you know, to take it over from his father. And so like, this is very much like a normal thing, especially for alphas, I guess. And we also find out, like, I don't think this is spoilery because we're still pretty early on in the book, but we find out that Joe essentially mated with Ox when he was 10 and Ox was 16, because he gave him this very special gift. And so like, they're mates, and like Ox didn't even know. And like, I think that's another thing I'm kind of having issue with, is that there's so many things Ox doesn't know. There's so many things people won't tell him about how this world works, how like the wolves work in general. And he's just like, I feel like he's going into this relationship kind of blindly. There's just so much he doesn't know. And so I'm just kind of uncomfy. I will be very sad if I end up DNFing this, but I'm not loving it. And if I'm not rooting for the romance, shouldn't I DNF it? I will say I enjoy the writing. Like, TJ Klune's writing, clearly I enjoy, because all 4 of his other books that I've read, I've given 5 stars. So, and I like the sense of humor that's used. Like, I love TJ Klune's sense of humor. I don't know. And like, why am I in agony about this? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm so committed to this book and I should be loving it more than I am. I don't hate it though. Like, at this point, I would probably give this like maybe 3 stars, because as much as I'm adoring like the writing style and the characters and stuff like that, like the romance is just not there for me personally. I want to give this book more of a shot though. And so I think I'm gonna read like 50 more pages, and if I'm still not loving it, I might have to put it down. And I hate saying that. Like, I feel like this vlog is not going well. I will let you guys know what I end up doing. I might even do an update later tonight if I make a decision about DNFing this and moving on to another book. We will just see. All right, it is still Wednesday, my dudes. Wednesday night. First of all, you might notice that my background looks quite different. There are no books on my shelves anymore, and that is because I'm actually in the middle of moving. So pretty much all of my books are at my new place, but I can't quite move in full time yet because I still have to get like internet set up and things like that. But yes, so it is a process. But okay, I just finished Wolf Song by TJ Klune, and I spoke too soon. Okay, literally, I don't even know, maybe like 30 pages later, like after I updated you guys, shit went down. There was like this really big battle scene with the main villain of the book, and like everything changed. And like, I don't know quite how to explain that without including spoilers, but things changed. And I started viewing this romance between Joe and Ox very differently. This actually gives strong vibes of New Moon specifically from the Twilight series, because Joe and Ox end up being separated for like 3 years. And so then when Joe comes back, he is now 20 and Ox is 26. And then the romance really starts ramping up. So I almost want to take back most of what I said in the last update, because yeah, things completely changed for this couple and for me reading this book. I definitely started rooting for the romance more. So much angst, my goodness. And this was a slow burn romance, even though I thought that Joe and Ox were together. They really weren't, because like I said, then they get separated and they don't really have any contact with one another over that 3-year time period. This is a pretty epic book. I mean, it's like almost 500 pages, and you know, we're seeing like 10 years of Ox and Joe's lives and how they go on this journey to a happily ever after. You know, and most of the characters in this are wolf shifters. We also have some witches involved, and that was really cool. Like, it was a very interesting world. Definitely will give you Twilight vibes for sure. And I'm sure that's what TJ Klune was going for. I will say, I think I'm settling on 4 stars for this book, because as epic as this book is and as amazing as the romance ended up being, I personally think this book was still a little bit too long. I think it could have been edited more, and I think the pacing could have been better throughout. There were definitely some places where this book felt slow, and it's definitely a more character-driven book. Yes, there's a plot, but it's definitely a more character-driven book, and I'm not opposed to slower paced character-driven books, but in this case, I just think that, I don't know, it just could have been edited better, like I said. So I think I'm settling on 4 stars, but there were times throughout where I was like, okay, maybe this is a 5-star read. I just kept flip-flopping. Found family aspect in this is amazing. I love how we have this family of wolf shifters, and then we have Ox and his family and his friends that are all humans. So these humans and these wolves or werewolves coming together and eventually forming their own pack by the end. Like, that was really great. If you love found families, I think you will absolutely adore this book. There were definitely aspects of this book where I totally understand the hype. I totally understand why some people name this as one of their top romances ever. I totally understand why Jess loves this book as much as she does. It just didn't quite hit me the same way as it has hit other readers, but I still really enjoyed it. I would still really recommend it. It also is just like a very unique paranormal romance. I have 2 more books that I want to read for this vlog, and they are both historical romances, which I'm so excited about because you guys might know, if you've been watching my recent content, that I've just been in a historical romance mood lately. So like every other book that I've been reading lately has been a historical romance. So the first one that I want to read for this vlog is The Secret by Julie Garwood. This is an old school historical romance. Let me see when this was originally published. It says 1992, which is the year I was born. So yeah, this is more of an old school historical romance because it was published before 2000. And this book has been on my TBR for well over a year. So from what I can gather from the synopsis on the back, we have Judith, our main character. She is about to travel to the Scottish Highlands to meet her childhood best friend who's about to give birth, and also meet the father she had never known. So this guy, Ian, who is the laird of his clan, is going to escort her to her childhood friend, essentially. And they fall in love along the way. I've heard amazing, absolutely incredible things about this book in particular, but also Julie Garwood in general. I'm really looking forward to trying out this author's work. I might start it later tonight because it's only 9 o'clock right now, and Lord knows I stay up till at least 2 a.m. every day. So I can definitely get started on this really soon. So with all of that being said, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. All right, happy Friday, everybody. I have quite the reading update for you because I actually read the entirety of The Secret by Julie Garwood. I probably should have done an update at some point yesterday on like my reading experience with this book, but I don't know, I just kind of wanted to keep reading it, and I really enjoyed this. I think I'm settling on 4.5 stars. I'm not really all that sure why it's not a 5-star read for me. There's just a feeling that I need to get from a book in order to give it 5 stars, and I didn't quite get that feeling from this book. That may not make any sense to you, but that's just how I am with my reading. So yeah, I think I explained the plot in Wednesday's update. But yeah, we have Judith, and when she was really young, like 4 years old, she made friends with this little girl, Frances Catherine, who is Scottish. And I think they were both living basically on the border between Scotland and England. And so Frances Catherine ends up marrying a Scot. She moves to their keep. And so now Frances Catherine is pregnant, and Judith made a promise to her a really long time ago that she would be there when she gave birth to at least her first child. So somebody needs to go fetch Judith from the border and take her into Scotland to the keep, because there's some land in Scotland that belongs to other clans, and that might be kind of dangerous for her to travel through by herself. And so Ian, the laird of this clan that Frances has married into, he decides to take it upon himself to go and fetch her with a few of his clansmen. So that was one of the things I loved about this book, was when he went to go fetch Judith. Like, there's this forced proximity thing. It's a travel romance in that way that doesn't last too long in the book. I mean, definitely, I don't know, I want to say by like page 100 she's at the keep, but it's really fun to see the two of them like traveling together, because she's kind of forced to ride on his horse with him, and the way that they provoke and challenge each other is just so much fun. There's a little bit of like a Grump Sunshine dynamic going on. Their banter is just so much fun. And then yeah, so she eventually gets to the keep and is reunited with Frances Catherine, and that for me was the shining star of this book, was this beautiful friendship between Judith and Frances Catherine. It's just really cool to see them become friends, like I said, when they're 4, and then see that friendship evolve over the years. And Judith was just such a fun main character to follow. I loved how she not only challenged Ian, like I've already said, but then once she gets to the keep, she is challenging the views of everybody who lives there, everybody in this clan. And I don't know, it's just really fun to see. I love how like exasperated everybody is by her, especially the men in the clan. Yeah, this was just a really fun time. There's also a lot of depth to this story as well, because Judith has become sort of a midwife, basically to help Frances Catherine with her birth. She's kind of studied up on how to be a midwife, and so when she comes to the keep, she helps out Frances Catherine and a few other women give birth to their children, and that's really cool to see as well. And I really enjoyed the romance between Ian and Judith. Like I said, it starts off really fun and bantery, and then by the end it's very sweet and loving, which is what you want from this kind of romance. I understand why Jess and so many others absolutely love this. So this morning, I actually just started my last book for this reading vlog, which is Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin. Funny thing about this book is that I never planned on ever reading this, because I had heard so many people, Jess being one of them, I had heard so many people talk about how dark this romance is. It's a dark pirate historical romance, which pirate historical romance is like, sign me up, hell yes. But I had heard that it was very dark. There is a lot of sexual assault involved. Like our heroine in particular gets sexually assaulted, sounds like numerous times throughout the book. And I don't know how I got this thought into my head. I don't think I made it up. I swear I heard somebody talk about this book and say that the main hero assaults Bennett, our heroine. But I think that's false. I don't think that's the case. But there are two love interests in this book. So I think maybe the other love interest harms her in some way. And at the beginning of the book, she was assaulted by some other man. So yeah, I think that's the case. This is definitely very dark. It definitely starts off with a bang. We have Bennett, our heroine, at the age of 14 when this book starts. Basically, shit goes down. Both of her parents die on the same day. And there is this Marquis who has been promised to Bennett. Basically, Bennett's mother is just trying to marry her off to someone of the English aristocracy. He assaults her, and she has like a knife on her, and so she's able to kill him before he can sexually assault her. So yeah, this book starts off very dark, and I have a feeling it's going to stay very dark most of the time. But I just adore pirate romances. I adore the vibe of this in general. I really like Bennett's character. I'm like 12% in, so I've really only read like the first part where she's 14, and then one chapter of when it time jumps 7 years later. So she's now 21, and she is now the captain of her own pirate ship. And where I left off, she just ran into this man, Priest, who apparently she has been married to for the past couple of years, and she fell in love with him, but it sounds like things went south with them, between the two of them, and so she kind of like ran from him and has been on the run from him for the past couple of years. So I'm really curious to read more about their situation, and I'm really interested to see who the main hero of the story is, because I've purposely kept myself from reading any synopses because I don't want to be spoiled for who she ends up with. So I'm really excited to see how all of this pans out. I'm loving Pam Godwin's writing style. This is my first Pam Godwin book. There's also a novella set in the same world. I think it's called King of Libertines. You can either read it before or after reading Sea of Ruin. So I'll probably read that novella after reading this, and I'm hoping to read this entire book today, but it's a lengthy book. It's like over 450 pages. I don't know if that's possible, and I will definitely give you guys an update tomorrow when I finish this. All right, guys, we are here for one last update for this vlog. Today is Saturday. I just finished Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin, probably maybe 30 minutes ago. I have so many conflicting thoughts about this book. I guess let me first just go a bit more into the plot than I did yesterday. So I know I set up Bennett and Priest's characters But we have a second love interest for Bennett, who is Ashley. And basically what happens is Ashley is a Commodore in the English Royal Navy. He is a pirate hunter, essentially. And both Bennett and Priest are wanted by the English government for piracy and other crimes. And so Bennett gets captured by Ashley and his Royal Navy crew. And so the plot goes on from there. First of all, my number one takeaway from this book is, why didn't anybody tell me that it becomes a poly romance, an MMF poly romance? If I had known that, I definitely would have read this book a lot sooner. I thought that this was just going to be a love triangle, which is like all well and good and everything, but yeah, if I would have known that, I definitely would have tried to read this sooner. But at the same time, I feel like that's kind of a spoiler because the poly romance doesn't kick in until like 85% of the way through. But I want you guys to know what you're getting yourselves into, and I think it'll make you more excited about this book if you know that it's poly. So first things first, I really loved Bennett's character, our main character, our heroine. She's such a badass pirate captain. I mean, this book will give you all of the historical pirate romance vibes that you could ever want. And I really enjoyed both Priest and Ashley, our two heroes. I definitely have issues with Ashley's character, but given that most of the characters in this book are morally gray, like, does it even really matter? Like, you know, I definitely prefer Priest over Ashley, but by the end you do root for both of them, and you understand why the three of them end up together and all of those things. You know, if you are looking for an angsty romance, this book will definitely serve that. My goodness, there's so much angst going on in this book for sure. And this is one of those really dark romances where the heroine basically goes through hell to get to her happily ever after. And after reading this book, I've kind of realized that those romances are not my particular cup of tea. As much as I enjoyed this, because I did give it 4 stars, I did enjoy it. However, there is so much violence being inflicted on Bennett. Not just sexual violence, because that happens in spades, but also just like regular old violence. Like, she gets beat up quite a lot, and I am just not here for that. It got to a point like at the 70% mark where I just started kind of skimming through the violent parts because it was just getting to be too much for me. I personally felt that it was just not needed. Like, all this violence didn't need to happen to her. I don't know. That's just my personal thoughts and beliefs. Like, these, yeah. All that to say, these dark romances are just not really for me. I mean, I enjoy them every once in a while, but yeah, I don't know. This might have been just like a little too dark for me, but I'm still glad that I read it. I really enjoyed Pam Godwin's writing. I don't know if I'm gonna read any more of her books because I know that all of her books are really dark. And I do think she should write more historical romances. I also think this book was too long. This is like 465 pages or something like that, and I definitely think this book could have been edited down a bit, and I also felt like there were pacing issues. Definitely around like the 60, 70, even into the 80% mark, I found myself kind of losing interest, not just because of the violence going on to Bennett, but just like, I don't know, kind of the direction of the plot. I was like, it just, I don't know. I wasn't as engaged as I was in the first half of the book. So yeah, I personally think it's just a little too long. But do I recommend this? Yes, especially if you love dark romances. If you are here for really dark romances, I can't stress enough how dark this is. There is a lot of sexual violence that goes on, especially, like I said, to Bennett, our main character. I cannot emphasize that enough. But if you enjoy dark romances, I think you would love this. Like I said, the historical pirate romance vibes are there. The morally gray characters are there, which is something that I love in pirate romances. I love when there's morally gray characters in those types of stories. Those are the 4 books that I wanted to read for this vlog. I'm so glad that I finally did this video. I have been meaning to read some of Jess's favorite romance books for months and months and months, because this is a little series that I've been doing on my channel since like March of this year, and Jess has been at the top of my list of booktubers that I've wanted to do these kinds of videos for. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It was really fun and enjoyable for me to get more of a sense of Jess's specific reading taste, and I did enjoy all of the books that I read for this vlog. I did feel like this video was kind of chaotic, so sorry not sorry. I'm in a very weird mind space right now because, like I already said, I'm in the middle of moving, but there's also other like weird mental health things going on in my brain right now, so I feel like that kind of came across on camera. So yeah, but I love being real with you guys. And with all of that being said, I would love it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!